Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another Manchester United live show on the channel. Reports and stories coming out, first of all, that Arteta might be leaving Arsenal, which is interesting news reports going about. However, it's not coming out from the most interesting sources, but we will keep an eye on that in today's live stream. But we're here to focus on Manchester United. Talk about Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes has come out and labelled teammates selfish throughout the Newport County game, making it aware that Bruno is aware of the problems at United. Ineos set to have an emergency meeting to crack down on problems at United. Apparently, Brailsford was not happy by the display shown. Amad Diallo liking tweets about him leaving Manchester United and why Ten Hag should have started him and stuff like that. Could the situation there be getting a little bit toxic upon more reports about sort of Ineos looking at sort of futures of big names? Ineos got to assess the future of people like Ten Hag, Marcus Rashford, those people who are big. They've got big decisions to make, and the suggestion is that Manchester United are going to take disciplinary action against Rashford. That has just come out from The Sun, and there are also reports coming out from The Star that Ineos are thinking of offloading Marcus Rashford. However, they are just like your take with a massive pinch of salt sources. I will say that as well. But there are rumours that Arteta could be going to Barcelona. So we will keep an eye on that as well, because it's just come out from Sport, and Sport are known for chatting absolute BS that Arteta's leaving and he wants to replace Xavi at Barca. But it'll be interesting because Pep might leave City because of the 115 charges. Klopp's leaving Liverpool. And if Arteta leaves Arsenal, if Ineos do sack Ten Hag, and they're having a big meeting about that apparently soon, who are going to be the options? Because as much as Man United has big pull, we're the worst run club out of Barcelona, City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I mean, we might not be under Ineos. We managed to bring in Omar Barada, but there will be interesting things as well. Ten Hag in, it's game on. And you know what? I am Ten Hag into the end of the season. I will not make my decision on Ten Hag till the end of the season, until I have time to assess things. But as Daniel has said here, do not get rid of Ten Hag. Its players not good enough. We need to clear out in the summer. And I think while Ten Hag's tactics haven't been good enough, while there's things I'm worried about, like the rest defence, and there are tactical problems at United, and I don't think Ten Hag is doing good enough with the players available, I ultimately think that if you sack the manager and you don't change the players, nothing will change, even if you bring in Pep. Ten Hag looks stubborn. Ten Hag may need to change things, and Ten Hag in the long run might not be the right manager to manage United. But I'm still with this sort of theory and conclusion that the board needs to change, the players need to go first, then we can look at Ten Hag, because I think there's a mixture of reasons that we're bad. I think one of the reasons is tactical and Ten Hag's stubbornness. I think that is one of the reasons, but I also just think the quality of players aren't good enough. I think that the players' heads aren't there. The attitude of the players isn't good enough. I think the decision-making isn't good enough. I think there's fitness issues. I think there's a multitude of reasons why Manchester United looks off, and despite winning 4-2, we can't be convinced against the 16th place League Two side with our strongest lineup. Had that been the reserve team with the under-18s, there would have been a bit of promise there, but that was meant to be our strongest lineup, and there was nothing there that really stood out to me as, oh, we see something positive here as well. Erik ten Hag doesn't like to spread the minutes around with the youth to be determined, but Amad might not see many minutes. Let's get into the Amad Diallo situation, because I think this is quite worrying in the sense of he's obviously not happy. I think like me, I think you guys were probably thinking, why isn't Amad on? I mean, I feel like we were all thinking, let's bring on Amad. The wingers are wasting chances. Let's bring on Amad, right? And then he brings on Forson. And I think a lot of us are thinking, why is he bringing on Forson? And then I said, maybe it's Forson's. They want to give Forson a new contract. So maybe they're bringing him on to convince him to stay, sign a new contract. There's issues here. But obviously, this was sort of what was said as well. And Amad Diallo liked to post on X that said this. He said, it said this here. Amad Diallo, if they're not going to start you in the FA Cup away game against Newport, it really isn't your time worth giving. It really isn't worth you giving them your time. Come home, come anywhere. You are truly appreciated. Amad Diallo liked to post basically saying you shouldn't beat United. They're not worth your time. Come back to Sunderland. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da. Now, obviously, we don't know if Amad's misread this. English isn't his first language, if this was an accident, but it always feels like, that's a coincidence. After the match, Forson gets on ahead of him. He likes those kind of posts. I don't think he's happy, because I get that Ten Hag needs to manage his minutes, injury rise, but Man United's wingers, weren't doing well despite Anthony having a goal and assist. Ahmad looked very, very good in his cameo versus Forest and has not seen the team since. And some of it is injury precaution, 100% understand. But we're letting Pelistri go out on loan because of Ahmad, and we're not letting Ahmad go out on loan despite how good he was at Sunderland last year, but he can't get minutes. And it's like, I'd understand if Rashford was playing amazing and Garnacho was playing amazing and United had been amazing all season, and I'd understand why Ahmad wouldn't get minutes. But the fact that we're not good on the wings and Ahmad doesn't get minutes, I think is a particular place for concern there. And I do understand Ahmad's frustration 100% as well. Luke says, evening Alice, I would give Ten Hag more time, but he's not making it easy for himself with some decisions. I agree. I'm basically, my stance personally, and do let me know your stance in the chat. I'm going to get through a load of live chats, but my personal stance is give Ten Hag to the end of the season. You might as well see what happens between now and the end of the season with the bulk of the players coming back. Let's see if we can see what Ten Hag is trying to do, because my problem with Ten Hag is stubbornness, but I actually can't really see what he's trying to do yet. I couldn't see what we're trying to do, and it felt like we were making the same mistakes. If that continues to be the case, yes, at the end of the season, Ineos might have to say goodbye to Ten Hag and bring someone in. But I'm still with the stance of I want the board changed. I want a lot of these players out. I'm talking 10 plus players sold, and then we look at Ten Hag. Because I also think if we sat Ten Hag but we let the same players stay, the next manager is going to struggle. I ultimately feel that Ten Hag should be given a chance under a proper board with a proper squad to see what he does. But he needs to show some kind of progress or change between now and the end of the season. For me, it's not even about results. It's just about performances. Can I see something there? Even when Chelsea are below us in the league, but I've seen some performances under Poch where I'm like, okay, I can see what he's trying to do, and Chelsea have just wasted chances. We need sort of that at United as well. Confidence of players is shot, yeah. The fact that when we conceded a goal to Newport County to make it 2-1, despite them being 16th place League 2 side, and we had our strongest side, and the players looked a bit shot, the confidence of the players was worrying. And I'm going to say this, I don't believe that the players are playing for Ten Hag. I don't believe that the players are behind Ten Hag. And what particularly worries me as a Manchester United fan is we saw this with Villa and Steven Gerrard. You know, Unai Emery inherited the exact same squad that Steven Gerrard had. And it felt like as soon as Unai Emery came in, Villa just went up a pace. And it felt like the Villa players had switched it off under Steven Gerrard. And I feel like these Man United players have switched it off under Ten Hag because you can see the lack of intensity, you can see the lack of effort. I'm not saying they all have, but certain players have. And I worry that it is these players trying to get the manager out, trying to get the manager sacked, which is why I want the players gone before the manager. I look at United and I looked at the team today, and the only players I think I would start in the squad next season would be Luke Shaw, Alessandro Martinez, Kobbie Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, and Rasmus Højlund. And it worried me that Bruno Fernandes was playing deeper than Kobbie Mainoo at times. It worried me, the rest defence, the structural setup. A lot of things massively worried me. And tactically, we were complete mess. I mean, I like Garnacho as well. Ineos need to back Ten Hag. What Ineos' stance is on Ten Hag is they will have discussions about it. There is worries, there is concerns, but their focus right now is on changing the board, changing the structure, planning for the transfer window. But obviously, when they plan for the transfer window, they will have to assess whether they want to plan for a transfer window with Ten Hag or plan for a transfer window without Ten Hag as well. And they made us look average at times. They did. I think the first 30 minutes, Man United were in such control of the game. They were playing good football. They were doing good cutbacks. And then all of a sudden, Newport adapted their tactics. United just became predictable. And then we started wasting chances, becoming selfish when we had the opportunity to go 4-0 up and put the game to bed. And we just switched off and we let them back into the game. We invited pressure on ourselves. We looked unfit. We lacked intensity. We lacked desire to win. And that gave Newport this hope and belief where they pushed off. They made it difficult. And then we managed to obviously get there in the end, because we did have the most chances and we did sort of dominate the game, but we allowed them to get back into it through switching off, poor defending, not matching them, and also just tactically easy to break through as well. Ratcliffe will sack Ten Hag in the summer. Well, I do want to get into reports that Ratcliffe is ready to be brutal and get rid of people like Marcus Rashford and get rid of Ten Hag. I want to get into some reports and rumours about that and discussions about this. And will Ratcliffe need to be brutal? Is it a case of we just get rid of the crap Deadwood players? Or is Ratcliffe going to have to come in and say, you know what, Marcus Rashford, you're out. Eric Ten Hag, you're out. We're not just having a refresh, we're having a massive refresh where nearly everybody goes. How ruthless is Ratcliffe going to be as well? People should not get carried away with all these BS likes on socials. I mean, it's just the things that Amad Diallo's allegedly liked as well. Wow, just out, Arteta leaving to join Barcelona. There are rumours coming out that Arteta is leaving Arsenal to join Barcelona. We will keep an eye on that. Why is every manager leaving? Just I have no idea as well. United always making things hard for their fans. They absolutely are. Arteta confirmed leaving. Is it confirmed as well? Big up Saeed in the chat. Big up everybody in the chat. Do you still believe in the manager? Alice, big up the channel. Saeed, I'll be honest, I have no clue what Ten Hag's trying to do. I am absolutely lost with what Ten Hag's trying to do, and I'm very much lacking belief because that is our strongest lineup. But I've just said to myself, I will back this manager to the end of the season. I will assess it at the end of the season. I will give him time to turn around at the end of the season because I don't want someone like Dan Fletcher being interim. But I've got to see progress between now and end of the season to back Ten Hag. I've got to see progress because I still think the players are the biggest issue. I still think the board is crap. I still think if you just sack a manager, it's not going to fix our issues. But I'm very much of the mindset of I will make my mind up at the end of the season. But right now, I couldn't tell you what he's trying to do. And that's what worries me. And it's been like that for a while. And the stubbornness. And they're not playing Amad Diallo. Like, why isn't Amad coming on? I don't know. So I will make my decision up on Ten Hag at the end of the season. But I would say losing belief, it's going that way. It's going that way. It's going that way, I have to say. I think the biggest issue with Ten Hag seems to run players the wrong way. He might be more suited to young up-and-coming players like Ajax. Yeah, potentially. I think he is suited to more high-energy players. You look at the players that are thriving at United. Maino's looking good. Martinez is looking good. I don't think he suits a lot of the players that we do have at Manchester United as well as a manager. But at the end of the day, he wanted some of these players. His recruitment hasn't been good as well. Thanks, Zane, for the super sticker. It says there's no message there unless it's not coming through. Appreciate the super sticker, Zane. How do you feel if Arteta is leaving Arsenal, Zane? Let me know how you feel about Arteta potentially leaving Arsenal as well. The team looked sharp and hungry. Newport got a goal back and some looked lost. They need to freshen up a formation change that could help along with hungrier players. Rashford brought shame on reputation and not sitting well with owners. Well, should we talk about the Rashford news? Quickly? Because, Ineos could be about to get brutal on Marcus Rashford here. So let me get this story up for you guys here. So there's a few stories coming out and they are coming from The Sun and co. But it said that Marcus Rashford is set to face disciplinary action from Manchester United. Then Ten Hag said Rashford called in sick. The rest is an internal matter. I'll take care of that. As I said before the match, it's an internal matter. I don't want to talk about Rashford. Then there's suggestions from those at The Sun that Rashford will face disciplinary action. Those at United are not impressed. And then there was a suggestion, and it was more of an opinion-based piece than a news-based piece, that Ineos might be ready to make a statement by cracking down on big stars like Marcus Rashford, which is quite big at all as well. Quite big. Yeah, I saw that Saeed joined the show, but my chat was 2 minutes behind. Big up Saeed. Do check out his channel. Who would be your ideal manager of Ten Hag sacked? I don't know. I mean, Pep Guardiola, if we're not being realistic. If we're being realistic, maybe Nagelsmann, Flick, maybe sporting manager. I don't know. I don't know because I don't like that the sporting manager plays five at the back. I really don't know what I want to replace Ten Hag because I'm at the point now where I just feel like every manager is going to fail at this club. I thought Ten Hag was going to be the guy to save United. I thought Ten Hag was going to be that guy who was going to come in and who's going to save United. And now that he's not, I've almost lost that sense of hope and stuff as well. We must stick with Ten Hag. He's the right manager. Well, we'll have to see about that. We'll have to see about that as well. Eric Ten Hag needs a new crop of players who are hungry to win. Bruno still needs to be benched up Mountain. And I don't think Bruno had a bad game today, but I actually think Bruno not playing well is just how talented Ten Hag misusing him now, which might sound crazy, but Ten Hag isn't using Bruno in his natural best role. He's making him come deeper and Maino go further up, which I thought was crazy. Eric Ten Hag needs a new crop of players. I do like Bruno, and I don't think he was anywhere near the worst player today. I don't think he was particularly bad. Diaro Sport, which is Barca-based, is reporting that Arteta's leaving Arsenal, which is interesting. Could Arteta be going to Arsenal? We're on 102 likes, guys, so please do smash the like button. Of course, subscribe down below, share the video, all of that stuff as well. I do want to talk about Bruno's comments, him calling out his teammates for not passing and being wasteful and being selfish. I do want to keep an eye on sort of Twitter and what's going on with Arteta as well. It has been said that Marcus Rashford is facing disciplinary action. It's been said that Manchester United are looking at Girona manager and, of course, De Zerbi and Graham Potter look like the three main candidates to replace Ten Hag. It said that Ineos will have a serious meeting in the coming weeks about the future of Erik Ten Hag and potentially look to make a statement by getting rid of some big names, i.e. suggesting that maybe Rashford could be one to exit as well. It has been said that the Arteta news is being pushed by Barcelona, and it looks like it is fake news. Some sources saying that Barcelona are briefing this, very likely fake news. But we will keep an eye on what this Arteta story is going about as well, even though it's not got much to do with United. Thank you very much for the super chat. Our wingers are greedy. Rasmus could have scored more. 100%. We're going to talk about Rasmus Højlund as well. It's all rumours going about, lots and lots of rumours going about as well. Good to see Rashford being an excellent role model. I mean, Rashford's antics, really, really not good look for him. He had his PR going for him when he was playing bad, and that seems to be lost. Nagelsmann didn't exactly thrive at Bayern, which is a much easier job than United, true, but he did win every group game and only got sacked when he was a few points off top. I don't think he's any worse than Tuchel. Right now, it would be Tuchel. I mean, let me know in the chat if Ten Hag was sacked, who would you bring in the summer? Because realistically, we're not going to be able to bring in anyone now. Don't say names like Zidane because he doesn't want to come to United. I would love to say Pep Guardiola, but he doesn't want to come. In a sort of realistic sense, tell me in the chat who you'd bring in. Erik Ten Hag will be here for next season. He will need time like Fergie did. Can't dominate and stay one. I understand that. It took Fergie 5 years. Part of me thinks I wouldn't be shocked if Ineos gave Ten Hag another year, because I know Ineos's focus is change the board, change the players, will go to the manager. It took Arteta time, it took Klopp time, it took a lot of managers' time. And because of what Ten Hag did in this first season and because of what he's done at Ajax, it might buy him time. But I think if he continues on this road of stubbornness, same mistakes, having the bulk of your squad back and playing bad to the point that it's so obvious he's lost the dressing room, then Ineos might get rid of him. Ineos have got a big decision to make, and I think they will have to have some big meetings. There's suggestions that there's going to be big meetings as well. There's no quality competition in each position, poor selfish players. I agree, but then I also think, well, if Anthony's not playing well, why don't we give Ahmad a go? I think Ahmad did well on loan. I get he's not experienced at United, but that's something there. Aspect I don't like about Bruno is he can be very wasteful himself and gets on everyone else for doing the same. I agree to an extent. Should we talk about what Bruno Fernandes said? So Bruno Fernandes claims his Man United teammates were going for glory themselves instead of setting up goals for the team. He said, "We had chances to make the 3-0, but everyone wanted to score and get their goal and everything, and sometimes we don't do the best decisions for the team." Bruno Fernandes called out his Manchester United teammates for being selfish and not making the best decisions for the team as they wanted to score and take the glory themselves, which I get is to an extent could be hypocritical from Bruno. He likes to score, he likes to assist, but Bruno Fernandes is basically saying it as it is. His exact words were, "We had chances to make it 3-0, but everyone wanted to score and get their goal. And sometimes we didn't make the best decision for the team," which would have been laying it into Rasmus Højlund in that scenario, because Rasmus Højlund might have put the ball away rather than us being wasteful and shooting. And I kind of get why Bruno Fernandes is saying that. And I kind of get why Bruno Fernandes is calling out his teammates. A lot of you are saying Potter, Tuchel, De Zerbi, Tuchel. A lot of you want Tuchel in. Oh, please, Bruno is never selfish. What's wrong with dying if this fan base, no matter what he does, you still blame him? I think Bruno can be, with his decision making, I wouldn't say it was selfish, but I think he does do those sort of decisions that give the ball away, and I think he's wasteful, not selfish. But I do think that Bruno is overhated by the fan base as well. It takes a special manager to thrive at this club in the best circumstances, let alone up and down rebuild. Yeah, and that's why I'm so reluctant to talk about new managers, because I just think, where do we start? I'm at this point where do we start? I just, to be honest, I just want Ten Hag to turn it around. I want Ten Hag to do something where I'm like, I can see what Ten Hag's trying to do. He's got a system in place. It's looking good. I need Ten Hag to turn it around, to be honest. I really do. People saying Mourinho or Conte. People saying Arteta if he leaves Arsenal. Well, I'd assume he'd go to Barcelona if he does leave Arsenal. Marco Silva, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. We can't talk about quality against the League Two side. True. I think the fact that it was a League Two side and we didn't look much better is worrying, particularly if this is our strongest team and particularly the lineup we're going to play against Wolves as well. There is no one out there to bring in. We have the right manager, just the wrong attitude of the club. And I partly feel like that, but I feel like I am slowly losing belief in Ten Hag in the sense of I just don't know what he's trying to do. But I also just think there's so many things that we need to sort out before we look at the manager, because I'm like, is it Ten Hag's fault? Maybe partly. If the tactics great? No, the tactics aren't good from Ten Hag. But I do look at Manchester United and I do look at the situation at Manchester United and everything going on at Manchester United, and I think, well, what are these tactics? But like I also go, well, look at the dressing room, look at the players, look at the attitude. There's just so much going wrong. Ralph was right about open heart surgery. Bruno's 100% right. I think Bruno was right. Bruno was 100% right to say that we were wasteful. We could have made the game 3-4-0 and buried it, and players went for glory themselves. I think Bruno's absolutely spot on. The team was infuriating to watch. Rasmus Højlund's there in the box. We could have crossed the ball into him twice and we could have made it 4-0 at half time. Instead, our players were selfish. Anthony was the biggest culprit. If Erik Ten Hag would actually sub him off early, we might have improved earlier in that match, as Alex. I do agree as well. Bruno is not selfish. He's just more wasteful as well. We need to get rid of Glazer, says Gaz. We do. That's probably saying the sky is blue. 147 likes. We've got 550 watching. Let's go for 300 likes before the end of the live stream. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new, as I do daily Manchester United live shows discussing news and all of that as well. Martinez, future captain. I think Martinez was the biggest bright spot. Martinez was my man of the match today. I thought it was brilliant. Luke Shaw grew into the game. Kobbie Mainoo had a decent game. Højlund got a go out of nothing and tried to create for his teammates. There was some promise from today's game. Don't like Conte. I wouldn't go anywhere near Conte as United manager. Sir Alex had games like this for many times. I've seen it myself over 41 years. I mean, yeah, to an extent. I think part of me is like, let's just give Ten Hag time and just get rid of these players. That's the problem. Like, I'm Ten Hag in, but I've always said I'm losing a bit of belief in Ten Hag, and I will make my official announcement if I'm Ten Hag in or out at the end of the season. I'm Ten Hag in to the end of the season, but he needs to show promise as well. Manager's not the problem. The attitude of some of these so-called pros is appalling. I agree that I think some of our players aren't good enough. I think players like Rashford going out and calling in sick, the attitude of the team is not good enough. I think there's too many problems at this club. There's lack of tactics, lack of cohesion from the team as well. That striker Evans who scored against us was literally a dairy farmer not long ago. Inexcusable not to batter that side. The fact that their most expensive player ever in their club's history is 80k, and that's two days of Rashford's wages, is particularly worrying as well. Garnacho hitting the bar rather than passing, unravelled that after the miss. I get why Garnacho shot the first time, but then he just kept shooting and Anthony kept shooting. And Anthony's shot selection in particular, I think Anthony was more wasteful of the two. Firing Erik Ten Hag does not help the club. Firstly, who do you bring in? Please, no Potter. Secondly, what coach would want to come in now and work under these players? Clear out needed. The most important thing now is a big clear out as well. People saying Mourinho back, no, thank you. First team scored against Newport, embarrassing. I mean, we won the game. Maybe we are being dramatic, but I think it was more that we just couldn't see anything to progress off. I think it was more the fact that even though we won, I still couldn't work out what the manager was trying to do. I still couldn't see what we were trying to build, what we were trying to progress off, and I still wasn't convinced by the win. I think that was the particularly worrying thing. Is I was like, what are we trying to do? I just still couldn't see or work out what we were trying to do at the club, and I think that was the worrying thing as well. I do not understand why we stick with Ten Hag while his tactics mentally make us actively worse every game. I mean, I think it's to do with not just Ten Hag's tactics, but the players not being good enough, the players not trying. And my frustration with Ten Hag is, why didn't you bring on Ahmad? Why didn't you change it up? Why don't you make subs? That is my frustration as well. Erik Ten Hag's man management is concerning. Just not sure he's suited for bigger clubs. Seems to have lost parts of the squad. I think he's a good manager, but he might be another Graham Potter where he just doesn't have it in here to manage a club as big as Manchester United. I think that's the worrying question as well. So close to 200 likes, guys. Nearly 600 people watching, so please do hit that like button. What are my thoughts on Bay and D? I think he had a good game today. Couldn't really done much more, much less as well. Yeah, 100%. Kobbie Mainoo's most exciting player, 100%. And Erik Ten Hag is making our squad actively worse every window and picking fights with our best players. I mean, that is the worry with Ten Hag, is the transfers decisions is poor, but I don't think you can blame Ten Hag on that. If we had a proper board, we wouldn't be buying Mount and Anthony for that amount. But the worrying thing about Ten Hag is the sort of potential fallouts with Varane and Casemiro and big name players and all of that. But then he is starting them as well, so it's interesting as well. Alice, when was the last time United were this bad? People went to work on a horse, says Gaz. To be fair, the Ragnick era, the Ollie Ragnick era, I feel like we're on par with that, to be honest, as well. You wouldn't think we won today. You wouldn't think we won today with the mood in the chat as well. Leaving subs too late is baffling, I agree. Our subs were Diaz, Trent, Virgil, Robert, Soboslai, and 1 goal scored by a 20-year-old and 4 chances created by 20-year-olds. Yeah, Liverpool went and battered Norwich, a championship side, and had those good players on the bench because they started a mixed team of 20-year-olds. And that's the worrying thing. You know, we're playing a much worse side than Norwich, and we play our strongest lineup, and Liverpool is scoring 5 goals and playing well. And we won the game 4-2, but it wasn't a convincing win. Maguire and McTominay as subs, you can't polish a turd, 100%. You have to look at Ten Hag and say, well, look at the players he's bringing on as subs. Yes, he didn't make subs to the 78th minute, but we were expecting some young players with very little Premier League experience to change it, or players we know not good enough to change things. I think that is the worrying thing. What do you think will happen to Amad Diallo at Manchester United? I think that Amad Diallo is obviously frustrated, and I can completely understand why Amad Diallo would be frustrated. I personally think that Amad Diallo should have come on, and I'm surprised that Ten Hag didn't look to bring on Amad Diallo. But hopefully he does get minutes, because although Anthony got a goal and assist, and Ten Hag's going to use that as an excuse to play Anthony at every minute of every game because he got a goal and assist, at the end of the day, Anthony was not good enough. The team is totally disconnected, as Bruno said, and the manager and the coaches need to do their job with the team. Yeah, Bruno basically said the team's disconnected. They were selfish and they don't always do what's best for the team. And we're going to talk about Rasmus Højlund and the Rasmus Højlund problem in a bit. It's the quality of the opponent that's the biggest concern, how cagey it was today. Yeah, if that's a Premier League opponent, we could be getting embarrassed as well. That they're like 76 places below us or something like that, or 56 places below us. You guys are crazy. We have the best manager out there. Erik Ten Hag needs full backing from Ineos, and then you can see what he does. I want Erik Ten Hag to make it work. I think there's a good manager in Erik Ten Hag. The just big question is he a good enough manager to deal with United and the egos and the players? I think ultimately the players need to go and the board needs to be changed before we look at the manager. But we have to look at the manager's tactics, the rest defence. For me, it's more that it's the same problems. Every time we lose a match, we're picking out the same problems, and Ten Hag goes into the same match and the same problems are out. Is Ten Hag not picking out those problems or coaching those problems or making players aware of those problems? I think that's the sort of big question mark. People are saying Wolves will batter us. Adrian says Erik Ten Hag's ID for transfers is clueless, but if we had Omar Barada in and Dan Ashworth in, we'd be making much better deals. I don't criticise Ten Hag for his transfers. I won't do that, because I think if we actually had proper people at the club in the first place, we wouldn't be having to worry so much about who we're going to bring on the transfer front here and there as well. But I have to say, the money that we spent under Ten Hag, his signings had been appalling. I'd give Ten Hag end of the season regardless, based on last season, but we have to evaluate the end. I think 100% just evaluate at the end of the season as well. Just evaluate at the end of the season as well. We should get Noosa summer. Brentford want. Noosa's such a good player, but I think Brentford's probably a very good move for him and his development. I'm surprised Spurs missed out on Noosa. Waiting to see if any other breaking news is coming out. No confirmation on the Arteta leaving Arsenal news. More reports coming out that Marcus Rashford set to place disciplinary action and will be dropped for Manchester United versus Wolves and forced to apologise to his teammates is another story / rumour going about. I see some Arsenal fans celebrating Arteta leaving. It's not even been confirmed yet. I mean, I feel like if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't celebrate Arteta leaving, because I think, well, he was sort of in the progress of building something as well. Yeah. Oh, interesting news reports coming out there. Don't think that's true, so I'm not going to give that any attention as well. People saying, one sec. This is just someone making stuff up. This is one of those ITK accounts saying suggestions coming in that Brailsford is not convinced on Ten Hag and will have discussions with Ratcliffe about this. But I don't think there's much credibility behind that as well. Alice, you're a flip-flop. How am I a flip-flop? I've said since September, when things start going wrong, since September, October, I'll make my decision on Ten Hag at the end of the season. I've said that very clear. I said right now I'm losing belief in Ten Hag and I'm losing belief about what he's going to do. But I've said every live stream we've spoken about Ten Hag on this channel since about October, I will be Ten Hag until the end of the season, and then I will make my decision. I've made that very clear. I wouldn't say that's flip-flopping. I've stuck with the same opinion of I'm not convinced, I'm losing belief, but I want to see. But I said I will give Ten Hag time because he's not had a stronger squad. Today, we see Ten Hag play his strongest squad against the League Two side. Now I'm losing belief because now that the bulk of the squad is coming back, the main players are coming back, I'm losing belief. I've always said I'll give Ten Hag to the end of the season, but I am personally losing belief because the main bulk of the players are coming back. I let Ten Hag off because I thought VAR did us over. I thought injuries did us over, but now we're getting to a point where the players are coming back from injuries. I need to see the progress as well. People saying if Mbappe goes to Madrid, Marcus could go to PSG, and I wouldn't say no to a massive bid from Marcus from PSG. I like Rashford, but if he's acting like this and PSG coming with a big bid, for me, I would I'll sell. Let me know your thoughts. Just scrolling through the live chat here as well. Someone said I'm blocked. Well, you're not blocked because I could see your message there as well. Flip-flop, in other words, why have you changed your mind? Is that a crime these days? I feel like if people change their mind, they get so much stick for it. I wouldn't say I've kept my opinion very much the same. I changed my opinion on stuff like I've always backed Rashford and said that fans give him too much stick. And I've said recently, actually, after these nightclub antiques, I think everyone has every reason to want to sell Rashford now. I wouldn't say it's flip-flopping. I think it's just assessing and trying to be patient with people. And then you go, you know what? This is the point where it's gone as well. Christ, they've only played one game this season. Give them time to gel. The fans are trigger happy. And this is the thing. And this is exactly why I won't make my mind up on Ten Hag to the end of the season. This is the exact reason I won't make my mind up on Ten Hag to the end of the season, because I think let's just see what happens when the bulk of the squad come back, when they've got a bit of time to gel, what happens. Am I losing belief? Yes. Am I struggling to see what's going on here? Yes, I am. Do I think he can turn it around? I think there's a good manager in there from Ajax and last season. Do I want him to turn it around? Absolutely. Do I think we should sack him? I think we should make a decision at the end of the season, because still, I think the bigger problem lies within the squad and the board. I think you can't expect a manager to do magic, but you would expect the manager to be doing a lot more and a lot better with the players available than Ten Hag is doing. You look at Ange Postecoglou, for example, and that's the worrying thing. I'm pretty level about football, but this is nonsense. Erik Ten Hag isn't doing the basics of managing the squad tactic-wise, acknowledging we don't have the players and go double pivot. He won't do it. And again, this is another reason why I am a little bit on Ten Hag in the sense of, look at this problem. Why aren't you addressing that? I think his stubbornness of consisting with the same thing that is causing issues and not working, hoping it will work, is worrying. It's like he's got his way. It's football. He's got his way. He wants to play, and he won't change that, which I respect to an extent. But then when it's so visibly not working, you've got to change it, or you're just doing the same mistakes as well. I thought Bayern had a good performance. I'm not going to be one of those that's saying, he should start every week now. It was Newport. Most of the saves were straightforward, but I thought Bayern didn't put a foot wrong as well. Why would Brailsford be convinced now? Erik Ten Hag has been between now and the end of the season to sink or swim. 100%. I understand why Brailsford isn't convinced. 100%. I think they know that what Ten Hag did last season and what he did at Ajax was good, and they want to give him time. But yeah, whereas Ahmad just didn't make it into the team as well. Alice, exactly. Get the board right, then you will see Erik Ten Hag come good. I think it's all about the board. Get the board in the right place, then see what happens with Ten Hag as well. What do people not realise is that a decision on Erik Ten Hag has probably already been made. It's very likely they'll move Eric Rout and allow the project-based manager potentially. I think they have an idea of who they would want to bring in and what they want to do. But I think they would have the hope to see how Ten Hag does between now and the end of the season and see if Ten Hag fits the project they want to go. I still think that no decision will really be made to the end of the season, but I think they'll be looking at managers and having ideas. But if Ten Hag does miraculously change it around, I think they would keep with him as well. People thought Arteta was leaving. It's from Sport. Is there any information coming out? There is information coming out that Arteta is leaving Arsenal by Sport, and it's not been debunked by anyone. I don't think Arteta will leave Arsenal. I've been keeping an eye on that Arteta leaving Arsenal news, but I honestly don't think it's true. I just think it's Twitter rumours as well. Simple logic: get rid of one problem to evaluate all the other problems by putting players in a position to win, let them sink or swim. I think every single player at United shouldn't be safe. I don't think Ten Hag should be safe. I think this is, if I'm Brailsford, if I'm Ineos, I go in the dressing room and I say, look, we are happy to get rid of every single one of you if we don't think you are good enough for the long-term project. I don't care who you are. You've got a couple months to prove yourself because we are ready to cut down. And that's Ten Hag, that is the staff, that is the players. And you can make a statement and say, Marcus Rashford, you're anti, you're going out nightclubbing, you're purple patches. I don't care, you're a player of the season last year. You've not worked well under the manager. You've been a bad influence this season, you're out. Because if Marcus Rashford leaves a year after being player of the season because he wasn't good enough, that sends a statement to the rest of the squad of you've got to step up under Ineos, they're serious. What is Man United's financial situation regarding FFP? Just basically poor man management by the Glazers. Those at the top of the club are in a sort of FFP situation. Ratcliffe's coming in will free up some investment of sales, and some will free up some investment, and we should have some money to spend in the summer in regards to FFP. Now we have to evaluate is Erik Ten Hag's tactics. Just go with simple, consistent tactical plan with a double pivot. Yeah. The thing is, it's a mixed feeling because part of me is like, Erik Ten Hag, show me what you're trying to do. Play the way that you want to play. And if the players don't do that, then we'll get rid of them in the summer. And then part of me is like, well, the way you want to play isn't working. So just go back to a 4-2-3-1, keep it simple, like you sort of did last season. Erik Ten Hag wanted to play a certain style of football. That's why I wanted Frankie de Jong in. We got battered versus Brentford. We got battered versus Brighton. We brought in Casemiro. All of a sudden, he played a different style of football, went back to the dual pivot because he brought in Casemiro, who's very different to Frankie de Jong, and we got battered the first 2 games of the season. He adapted. This season, we've been losing, but he's not adapting. Whereas last season, he actually played the 4-2-3-1, played a different style of football because we didn't get Frankie de Jong and we lost the first 2 games of the season against Brighton and Brentford. But this time, he's not adapting as well. It seems more falling out and favouritism rather than tactics. The squad don't seem fully behind him. And I agree with Alex. I think some of it just goes down to favouritism. The squad doesn't look behind him as well. Another YouTuber said apparently Rashford is always out clubbing, but his PR team and club cover it up. That's not good. I mean, look, players are allowed a life out of football. Grealish doesn't get stick for it. I'm all for letting him have a life out of football. But if he's not playing well on the pitch and he's not turning up to training because he's hungover, then that's when I have a problem with it. If he's playing really well on the pitch and he commits to training the next day and he puts 100% on the pitch, 100% training, go out, have the fun. But when you're not doing it on the pitch and when you're not turning up to training and lying about it, that's when it's unacceptable. And he has to be called out like Amrabat would if Amrabat went out clubbing. Not that I don't think he would, or Varane did, or Garnacho did. He has to be treated the same as any other player would be in that scenario. I was extremely disappointed with Garnacho today. I think he may end up being better on the right wing, seems to look to cross more there. Yeah, I think I like Garnacho on the right wing because it means he has to simplify his game and be less selfish. And I think decision-making is raw, but he's a young player. The reason I'm not going to get on Garnacho's back is he's so young that those issues with him can be coached out of him, and he's been so promising this season. But I agree with you as well. Alice, there is a channel stealing my thumbnails. What channel? Put that in the chat. Waiting till summer to sack Ten Hag, might scupper next season if you're trying to do it all in the summer. I think people have got to remember that Ineos can't just come in, spend a load of money in the summer and expect everything to be good. I know Spurs have made a lot of progress under Ange, but I think realistically, the best case scenario is we spend efficiently in the summer and we look a bit like Spurs did under Ange, where we look like next season we're going to be really in that top 4 race and playing good, convincing football. I think that's the best case scenario. I think people realise that it's going to be 2-3 years till we win a league. It might be 2-3 years until we see the impacts of what Ineos want to do. It's not going to be you click your fingers in the summer, you buy a load of players, you sell a load of players, and we're back to our best. Players need time to gel. Managers need time to build. Things need to happen as well. I mean, I would like Ange Postecoglou at United, but he's not going to leave what he's building at Spurs. They will sit Ten Hag down and ask him about his football philosophies and the decisions he's made. If he fits their mindset, there is a chance he stays. Colour me sceptical, though. I think that's something that Ineos will do. I agree as well. Stats don't lie. Erik Ten Hag didn't win 33 wins quicker than Fergie with a worse squad. He has to use different formations. The players aren't what he needs. I think with Ten Hag, you have to remember he wanted Frankie de Jong. He got Casemiro, a very different profile. He wanted Harry Kane. That budget ended up being spent on the likes of Anthony. You know, if Ten Hag had got Frankie de Jong, Harry Kane, and Kim Min-jae, and the money had been spent more efficiently on less money being spent on the likes of Mount and Anthony, who maybe didn't come in, and then maybe we got a DM. You know, let's say we ended up with sort of Declan Rice, Harry Kane, all of the Kim Min-jae, Frankie de Jong, and our squad was Kim Min-jae, Lisandro Martinez, we'll say Luke Shaw and Delo and Onana. We'll say Onana, then we'll say it's a Frankie de Jong, Declan Rice, Bruno Fernandes midfield 3 with Harry Kane up top. And potentially we get someone like Elise, the 35 million release cost instead of Anthony, and then we have Rashford or Garnacho on the left. You would say, okay, yeah, United would probably be a lot better off, but we didn't do that, and that's all that's all, hypothetical. But I do think you look at Ten Hag, he didn't get a lot of the players he wanted, and the board wasted money elsewhere, which Ten Hag gets a lot of the blame for. But actually, you've got to look at Mercer, you've got to look at Arnold, you've got to look at the fact that these players are causing us so much issues, whether it's the Greenwood, Anthony situations off the field, Ronaldo going on Piers Morgan, Sancho refusing to play, you've got the Rashford nightclub scenario. A lot of these players are causing Ten Hag issues. Does Ten Hag help himself by potentially giving certain players favouritism? I don't think he helps himself. That's something that's got to stop, the Rashford favouritism. Does he help himself? The fact that Anthony can't get on when certain players is underperforming. I said this in my live stream earlier. He started the first game of his Man United tenure, official game against Brighton with McFred. He realised that one game McFred wasn't working. He never played McFred together again. He dropped Maguire after 2 games for Martinez and Varane. He dropped Ronaldo after a couple games, and all of a sudden the squad was on his side because the players that were crap and underperforming, he dropped. This season, he doesn't drop the players that are crap and underperforming, give other people a chance. He's being stubborn with that, which I think might ultimately lose him the dressing room as well. Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro back today, which is good. It will take a month to get up to full match sharpness. I agree, we lost a behind closed doors game. I think it will take a while to get up to match sharpness. Big up Johan in the chat. Smash the like button, lads and lassies. Alice Talks Football is the place to be. Big up everybody in the chat. Really, really appreciate it. Everyone. Garnacho didn't have his best match, but no way does he deserve pelters. The lad is 19 and showed brilliance already, 100%. And also, decision-making on a young player is the least of my issues. With Garnacho, what was wrong with him today was his decision-making. That can hopefully be coached out of him. You learn and you grow. So for me as well, that's another thing. If we sat Ten Hag in summer, we reinforce player power and we set precedent that coaches only have 2 seasons to perform and their first season gets a trophy. 100% agree. And I like how Omar Barada made it clear in an interview that his way of doing things at Man City is you've got 1 to 2 seasons to perform and you're out. Whereas at Man United, these players get 3 to 4 seasons, so they outlive 2 managers. It should be that the players get 2 seasons or they're out. The manager gets at least 3 seasons to stop that sort of player power-esque as well. 100%. Why is it that Ten Hag always wanted De Jong? Did De Jong ever want to play for Ten Hag again? Because I hear he didn't. I think it's more that if we didn't get Frankie De Jong, why didn't we go for a player that was a very similar profile and played a very similar way to Frankie De Jong? Why did we go from a guy that is known for being one of the best players in the world in possession to Casemiro, who's known for being weak in possession but good out of possession? Why was Casemiro the alternative to De Jong when that would mean Ten Hag had to play a totally different style of football to the one that he'd been practicing in pre-season? That is sort of what it is as well. 100%. Poor management. Yeah, there's a lot of adversity this season, year-long takeover, so many injuries, off-the-pitch drama, etc. No excuse, but not ideal. Ten Hag needs to do better, and I'm losing belief in him because I don't know what he's trying to do, and what he's doing isn't good enough. But we also have to take into account the players, the issues off the pitch, what he's had to deal with, everything as well. Not being stubborn, but half the team has been injured for the first half of the season. No depth, 100%. And now that the team is coming back from injury, now that we've got 1 game a week, they should get to match fitness. They should play together. This is Ten Hag's sink or swim situation. This is Ten Hag's you sink, you swim situation, 100%. Frankie would have definitely improved our ability to move the ball out from the defence into forward areas. However, it was Erik Ten Hag's job to convince Frankie didn't manage it. I agree, but I think he just never wanted to leave Barcelona. I think that's what it is with De Jong. He just seemed to never want to leave Barcelona. Even when Chelsea tried to go for him and Bayern tried to go for him, he didn't want to go to them either. He just seemed obsessed with it. He was just obsessed with Barca, which was the biggest mistake because I think we should have realised a lot earlier on, okay, he doesn't want to come. Let's move on. And unfortunately, we didn't do that as well. So yeah, anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream. I'm just going to make sure no more news have come out. But essentially, Bruno called out his teammates and said the problem was that 2-0 up were being wasteful. Everyone wanted to score. Everyone was in for themselves. The Sun is saying that Marcus Rashford is facing a 2 weeks wages fine. Oh, look at this. Look at this coming out here on Rashford. So Rashford's set to face a big fine. There are reports that Brailsford's not convinced by Marcus Rashford, not convinced by Ten Hag, and will be assessing their future. There's also reports coming out that obviously Amad Diallo has liked tweets about he should be playing more, but it looks like Marcus Rashford could be getting in a bit of trouble. It's come out from the Sun, and the Sun is very much a take with a pinch of salt. You have to take everything that comes out from the Sun with a massive pinch of salt as well. Someone said Man United are going for Joe Willock, but I think that's just someone linking every single player under the sun to Manchester United to get clicks as well. But interesting statistic coming out as well that I wanted to read, and that is that Rasmus Højlund had 1 shot all game. 1 shot from Højlund. Anthony had 6 shots. Garnacho had 5 shots. Bruno had 5 shots. Rasmus had 1 shot. Rashford scored his only shot as well. But yeah, we generally lack ball carriers. We literally have less of a handful who can properly carry an entire squad. I agree. Maguire's our best carrier when he plays, which is particularly worrying. But big up everybody in the chat. Big up everybody for tuning in. Do hit the like button on the way out. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I will be back tomorrow. See you then. Bye.